The stars looked different when you were running for your life. Captain Jake Morrison knew this feeling well from his early days hauling cargo through pirate territory. But today the danger was not meant for him or his crew. It was meant for an entire species that had never hurt anyone. The bridge of the cargo ship New Horizon was quiet except for the soft hum of engines. Jake stared at the display showing their current route through empty space. They were 3 days out from Earth, carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. It was supposed to be a simple job. "Captain," called out Amy Carter from the communications station, "I'm picking up a distress signal." "It's strange, not human." Jake turned in his chair. Amy was young, barely 25, but she had good instincts. If she said something was strange, it probably was. "Put it through," Jake said. The signal came through broken and weak. The voice that spoke was not human, but the words were clear enough. "Help us, our ship is damaged." "We have younglings. Please help us." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was small but good. Kate Sullivan, his engineer, was already checking their position. Danny Rodriguez, their medic, was listening carefully to the signal. Lisa Park, who handled navigation, was plotting possible routes. "How far away are they?" Jake asked. 2 hours at full speed, Lisa replied. "But Captain, we're supposed to avoid contact with alien ships. Orders from Earth Command." Jake knew the orders. Humanity had only recently joined the galactic community. The politicians wanted to be careful. They did not want to get involved in alien problems. "Play the signal again," Jake said. The voice came through once more. This time Jake heard something else, fear, pure fear. "And something about younglings, Captain," Kate said softly. "Younglings means children. They have children on that ship." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth. She was safe, but somewhere out there, alien children were in danger. "Change course," he said. "Full speed." "Sir?" Amy asked. "You heard me. We're going to help them." 2 hours later, they found the alien ship. It was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The hull was smooth and seemed to glow with a soft blue light. But the glow was flickering, and parts of the ship were dark. It was clearly damaged. "They're not responding to our signals," Amy reported. "Take us closer," Jake ordered. Carefully. As they got nearer, Jake could see the damage. Parts of the hull were torn open. Whatever had attacked this ship had been brutal. "I'm reading life signs," Danny said, checking his medical scanners. "About 200 beings. Some are very small. Those must be the younglings. Can we dock with them?" Jake asked Kate. Kate studied her screens. "Yes, but it will be tricky. Their docking system is different from ours." "Make it work," Jake said. It took an hour, but Kate managed to connect their ships. Jake, Danny, and 2 other crew members went through the airlock. The inside of the alien ship was strange but beautiful. The walls seemed to be made of crystal that gave off soft light. The aliens themselves were even more amazing. They looked like living crystals, tall and elegant. Their bodies reflected light in rainbow patterns. But Jake could see they were scared and hurt. One of the aliens came forward. It was taller than the others, and its crystal body was a deep blue color. "I am Elder Kithara," it said in careful English. "You came to help us. Why?" "Because you asked for help," Jake replied simply. The elder seemed confused by this answer. "But we are not your people. We are nothing to you. You have children on this ship," Jake said. "That makes you our people." Elder Kithara's crystal body flashed with different colors. Jake guessed this was how they showed emotion. "We are Zephyrians," the elder explained. "Our world was attacked by the Vorthak Empire. They want to destroy us all. We escaped, but barely." Danny was already checking the injured. The Zephyrian children were small versions of the adults, their crystal bodies dim with fear and exhaustion. "Captain," Danny called. "There's a human child here." Jake hurried over. In the center of a group of Zephyrian younglings sat a small human girl. She looked about 8 years old, with brown hair and sad eyes. "Hello," Jake said gently. "What's your name?" "Lucy Bennett," the girl whispered. "My mom and dad were scientists on the Crystal People's planet. The bad aliens killed them, but the Crystal People saved me." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Someone had killed this child's parents and tried to kill her too. The Zephyrians had risked their lives to save one human child. "Lucy," Jake said, "you're safe now. We're going to take care of you and your crystal friends." Elder Kithara approached. "Captain Morrison, we cannot repay this kindness. We are a peaceful people. We have never fought wars. We do not know how to defend ourselves." "You saved Lucy," Jake said. "That's all the payment we need." Kate's voice came through his communicator. Captain, I can fix their engines, but it will take time. Their technology is more advanced than ours, but the damage is extensive. Do it, Jake replied. Take whatever time you need. For the next 6 hours, Jake's crew worked alongside the Zephyrians. Kate and her team repaired engines. Danny treated the wounded. Lisa helped with navigation systems. Amy worked on communications. The more Jake learned about the Zephyrians, the more amazed he became. They were scientists, artists, and philosophers. Their entire culture was built around learning and creating beautiful things. They had never even invented weapons of war. Why did the Vorthak attack you? Jake asked Elder Cathara. Because we exist, the Elder replied sadly. The Vorthak believe that only the strong should survive. They see our peaceful ways as weakness. They want to take our worlds and our knowledge, but you're not weak, Jake said. You saved Lucy when you could have saved yourselves. That is what your people would call strength? The Elder asked. That's what my people would call the most important kind of strength, Jake replied. As the repairs continued, Jake watched Lucy playing with the Zephyrian children. Despite the language barrier and the difference in species, the children had found ways to communicate. They were teaching each other games and sharing food. She has brought light back to our younglings, Elder Cathara observed. They had forgotten how to play after the attack. Your child reminded them. She's not my child, Jake said. But she's human, so she's my responsibility. I do not understand your species, the Elder admitted. You risk yourselves for strangers. You claim responsibility for those you have never met. This is not logical, Jake smiled. Maybe not. But it's who we are. When the repairs were finally complete, Elder Cathara gathered his people and Jake's crew together. Captain Morrison, the Elder said formally, you have shown us that there are good people in the galaxy. People who will help others even when there is nothing to gain. We will never forget this. Just take care of Lucy, Jake said, and take care of your people. The galaxy needs more folks like you. As the ships prepared to separate, Lucy ran to Jake and hugged his leg. Thank you for helping my crystal friends, she said. Thank you for being brave, Jake replied. The Zephyrian ship pulled away, its hull glowing brighter now that its systems were repaired. Jake watched it jump to hyperspace, carrying 200 refugees and one small human girl to safety. Think we'll see them again? Amy asked. Jake looked at the stars where the ship had disappeared. Something told him this was not the end of the story. Maybe, he said, but I hope when we do it's under better circumstances. He had no idea how wrong he was. 3 hours after the Zephyrian ship jumped to hyperspace, Jake Morrison was still thinking about the Crystal people and little Lucy Bennett. His crew was back to their normal duties, but everyone seemed quieter than usual. They had all been changed by what they had seen. Captain, Amy's voice cut through his thoughts. I'm picking up hyperspace signatures. 3 ships coming in fast. Jake's blood went cold. Zephyrian? Amy checked her instruments. No, sir. These signatures are different, bigger, and they're broadcasting on military frequencies. Battle stations, Jake ordered, though he knew it was probably useless. The New Horizon was a cargo ship, not a warship. They had no real weapons, just mining lasers for clearing space debris. The 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace like dark sharks. They were ugly vessels, all sharp angles and weapon ports. Their hulls were black metal covered in spikes and scorch marks. They're hailing us, Amy reported. On screen, Jake said. The face that appeared was nightmare fuel. The Vorthak were reptilian creatures with yellow eyes and rows of sharp teeth. The one looking at them wore armor covered in what looked like bone decorations. Human vessel, the creature hissed. I am Warlord Krextar of the Vorthak Empire. You have aided enemies of our people. Where are the crystal cowards? Jake stood up slowly. I don't know what you're talking about. Krextar's eyes narrowed. Do not lie to me, human. Our sensors detected your ship's energy signature at the location where our prey escaped. You helped them. We helped some refugees, Jake said, including a human child. The crystal weaklings are enemies of the Empire. Anyone who aids them is also an enemy. Krextar bared his teeth. Tell us where they went and we will allow you to live. Jake looked around his bridge. Kate was at her engineering station, her hands moving over controls. Amy was recording everything. Danny was standing by, ready to help. Lisa was calculating jump coordinates, probably planning an escape route. I need to think about this, Jake said. You have 1 minute, Krextar replied and cut the transmission. Captain, Lisa whispered. I can plot a jump. We might be able to escape. And leave them to hunt down the Zephyrians? Jake shook his head. They have Lucy on that ship, and 200 refugees who never hurt anyone. Sir? Kate said quietly. I've been looking at our options. We have mining charges in the cargo bay. If I can jury-rig them to the mining lasers, we might be able to give them a fight. Kate, those are warships. We're a cargo hauler. I know, Kate replied. But sometimes it's not about winning. Sometimes it's about making a stand. Jake thought about Lucy's frightened face. He thought about Elder Cathara's confusion at human kindness. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth. Do it, he said. Kate, rig everything you can. Amy, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what's happening. Lisa, if things go bad, I want you to jump away and warn the colonies. Captain, Danny said. We're all staying. Danny. We're all staying, Amy repeated firmly. The others nodded. Jake felt proud and terrified at the same time. All right then. Let's see what a cargo ship can do. The next 40 minutes were controlled chaos. Kate and her team pulled mining charges from storage and rigged them to explode on command. The mining lasers were recalibrated to fire in combat mode instead of precise cutting beams. Lisa programmed evasive maneuvers into the navigation system. Amy boosted their communications array to maximum power. When Krextar called back, Jake was ready. Human Captain. The Vorthak snarled. Your time is up. Where are the crystal cowards? I'll tell you where they are, Jake said calmly. They're somewhere safe. Somewhere you'll never find them. And that human child you're hunting? She's with them, and she's going to grow up free because good people protected her. Krextar roared in anger. Then you will die with the crystal weaklings you love so much. Maybe, Jake replied. But here's something you should know about humans. We don't abandon kids. We don't abandon people who protect kids. And if you want to hurt either one, you have to go through us first. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. All right, people. Let's show them what humans are made of. The Vorthak ships came in fast, their weapons already charging. Jake knew they had one chance, maybe two, before they were overwhelmed. Kate, fire mining charges, he ordered. The charges shot out from their ship like missiles, but they were not aimed at the enemy vessels. Instead, they exploded in the space between the ships, creating a cloud of metal debris and energy interference. Now, Lisa, evasive maneuvers. The New Horizon twisted through space like a dancer, using the debris cloud for cover. The Vorthak weapons fired, but most of the shots went wide or hit debris instead of their target. Amy, continuous broadcast on all frequencies, Jake ordered. I want everyone in this sector to know what's happening here. Mining lasers ready, Kate reported. Target their weapon systems, Jake said. We can't destroy them, but maybe we can slow them down. The mining lasers, designed to cut through asteroids, sliced into the nearest Vorthak ship. They were not powerful enough to destroy it, but they managed to disable several weapon ports. The Vorthak ship returned fire, and the New Horizon shook under the impact. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Hull breach on Deck 3, Danny reported. But we're holding together. For 20 minutes, the fight continued. The cargo ship darted through space using every trick Jake had learned in his years of running supplies through dangerous territory. They managed to damage 2 of the Vorthak ships and avoid being destroyed, but they were running out of options. Captain, Kate said, our engines are overheating, and we're down to our last mining charges. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Vorthak ships were closing in, and the New Horizon was wounded. They had fought well, but it was not enough. Then Jake had an idea. A terrible final idea. Kate, can you overload our fusion reactor? Kate's face went pale. Yes, but if I ram the largest Vorthak ship, will the explosion be big enough to take it out? Captain, no, Amy said. There has to be another way. Look at the display, Jake said sadly. We're not getting out of this, but maybe we can make it count. Maybe we can buy the Zephyrians enough time to get really far away. Sir, Lisa said, tears in her eyes. The escape pods? Won't make it past their guns, Jake finished. But if we take out their command ship, the other 2 might retreat. It's worth the chance. He sat down in his captain's chair and put his hand on the ship's controls. I'm proud to serve with all of you. Amy, send one last message. Tell Earth Command that we did our duty. Tell them humans don't abandon children or the people who protect them. Message sent, Amy whispered. Jake turned the ship toward the largest Vorthak vessel. It was massive, covered in weapons and armor. But at its heart, it was just metal and circuits. It could be broken. "This is for Lucy," he said, "and for Elder Cathara, and for every child who should grow up free." The New Horizon accelerated toward the enemy ship. The Vorthak realized what was happening and fired everything they had, but it was too late. The cargo ship, moving at full speed, crashed into the warship's hull. For a moment, there was just the sound of tearing metal. Then Kate's overloaded reactor exploded. The blast lit up space like a small star. When the light faded, both ships were gone. The two remaining Vorthak vessels hung in space, their crews stunned by what they had witnessed. On the bridge of one ship, a junior officer looked at his commander. "What do we do now?" The commander stared at the expanding cloud of debris where two ships had been. "We report to the Supreme Overlord, and we tell him that the humans are not what we expected." In the cold vacuum of space, the wreckage of the New Horizon drifted among the ruins of the Vorthak warship. There were no survivors. But somewhere in the galaxy, a Zephyrian refugee ship continued its journey to safety, carrying 200 crystal people and one small human girl, who would never forget the cargo ship crew that had saved her life. The message Amy had sent was already racing toward Earth at light speed, carrying the story of Captain Jake Morrison and his crew. It would change everything. The news reached Earth 3 days after the battle. Admiral Christine Taylor was having her morning coffee when the priority message came through. She read it twice, then called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said to the group of military and civilian leaders gathered around the conference table, "we have a situation. Captain Jake Morrison of the cargo vessel New Horizon engaged 3 Vorthak warships to protect alien refugees. His ship was destroyed with all hands." The room erupted in voices. Some demanded to know why a cargo captain had involved humanity in alien conflicts. Others wanted to know more about these Vorthak aliens. "There's more," Admiral Taylor continued. "The refugees Morrison died protecting have sent us a message. They're called Zephyrians, and they want to thank humanity for our sacrifice." She activated the holographic display. The image that appeared was unlike anything the council members had ever seen. Elder Cathara stood in what looked like a crystal chamber, his tall form glowing with soft blue light. Behind him, other Zephyrians could be seen, and in the front stood a small human girl with brown hair. "People of Earth," Elder Cathara began, his voice formal but warm. "I am Elder Cathara of the Zephyrian people. Your Captain Morrison and his crew gave their lives to protect us. Strangers they had never met before. We do not understand your species, but we honor your sacrifice." The image shifted to show Lucy Bennett. The 8-year-old girl looked directly at the camera with serious eyes. "My name is Lucy Bennett," she said. "The crystal people saved me when the bad aliens killed my mom and dad. Then Captain Morrison saved all of us. He said humans don't abandon kids or the people who protect kids. I want to come home, but I also want to stay with my crystal friends. They're good people." Elder Cathara returned to the center of the image. "We offer this testimony to your people and to the galaxy. The human crew of the New Horizon showed us that there are those who will fight for others, even strangers. Even aliens. We will remember this always." The message ended, leaving the council chamber in silence. "How many people have seen this?" asked President John Clark, who had joined the meeting by video link. "It's spreading across every communication network in human space," replied Director of Communications, Sarah Kim. "The Zephyrians broadcast it on open channels. By tomorrow, every human in the galaxy will know about Morrison and his crew." President Clark looked tired. "What's the public reaction?" "They're calling Morrison a hero," Sarah replied. "There are already memorial services being planned on a dozen worlds, and people are asking questions about the Vorthak Empire." Admiral Taylor pulled up another display. "I've been researching these Vorthak aliens through diplomatic channels. What I've learned is disturbing. They're a military empire that conquers peaceful species. The Zephyrians are just their latest target." "How many Zephyrians are left?" asked General Patricia Stone, unknown. "The ones Morrison saved represent a small fraction of their population. Most are either dead or scattered across the galaxy as refugees." President Clark was quiet for a moment. "What are our options?" "Officially, we express sympathy for the loss of Captain Morrison and his crew, and we maintain our policy of non-interference in alien conflicts," said Foreign Minister David Park. "And unofficially?" the President asked. Admiral Taylor spoke carefully. "Unofficially, sir, the public is demanding action. Morrison's sacrifice has touched something deep in the human psyche. People are saying we can't let genocide happen when we have the power to stop it. Meanwhile, across human space, the story was spreading like wildfire. On Mars, dock workers stopped their shifts to watch the Zephyrian message. On the agricultural world of New Kansas, farmers gathered in town halls to discuss what humanity should do. On the mining stations of the asteroid belt, tough miners wept openly at the image of Lucy Bennett standing with her crystal protectors. The story reached the outer colonies through trade ships and communication relays. Captain Nina Lopez of the patrol ship Defiant was 3 days out from the frontier world of New Texas when her communications officer received the transmission. "Captain," Lieutenant Tony Rodriguez called out. "You need to see this." Nina watched the message in silence. When it ended, she turned to her crew. "Plot a course for Earth, best possible speed." "Ma'am?" her first officer asked. "If the government won't act, maybe the military will," Nina replied. Similar scenes were playing out across the human fleet. Ship captains were requesting permission to return to Earth. Colonial governors were calling emergency sessions. Civilian cargo haulers were volunteering for military service. The reaction was not universal. Some human leaders worried about getting involved in an alien war. They pointed out that humanity was still new to galactic politics and should not make enemies of powerful empires like the Vorthak. But these voices were drowned out by the growing chorus of support for action. The image of Lucy Bennett, safe in the care of aliens who had risked everything to protect her, had become a symbol of interspecies cooperation. The sacrifice of Captain Morrison and his crew had shown the galaxy what humans were willing to do for others. 3 weeks after the battle, Elder Kithara sent another message. This time the tone was different. The Crystal Elder looked tired and worried. "People of Earth," he began, "we have received intelligence from other refugee groups. The Vorthak Empire is planning a final assault on our remaining colonies. They wish to eliminate all witnesses to their defeat by your Captain Morrison. We do not ask for your help, for we have seen the price you pay for protecting others, but we wanted you to know that your sacrifice inspired us. If we must die, we will die knowing that there are good people in the universe." The message showed images of the remaining Zephyrian colonies. Families of crystal people worked together to build defenses they did not know how to use. Children helped their parents prepare for an attack they might not survive. And in the middle of it all was Lucy Bennett, now wearing clothes made from Zephyrian crystal cloth, helping to organize medical supplies. The little girl who had lost everything was now helping her adoptive people prepare for another tragedy. The final image in the message was of Lucy speaking, directly to the camera. "I know my real mom and dad would want me to help the crystal people," she said. "They saved me and Captain Morrison saved them. If the bad aliens come back, we're going to be ready. The crystal people taught me that sometimes you have to be brave even when you're scared." When this message reached Earth, the public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Protests erupted outside government buildings, not against the war, but demanding that humanity intervene. Veterans of Earth's colonial conflicts volunteered en masse for military service. Civilian corporations offered to convert their ships for military use. President Clark found himself facing the largest popular movement in human history. The phrase "Remember Morrison" became a rallying cry. Ships across human space began broadcasting the image of Captain Morrison's final message. "We don't abandon kids. We don't abandon people who protect kids." In the Vorthak Empire, Supreme Overlord Vexthul was receiving very different reports. His intelligence officers described a species that seemed to have no limits when it came to protecting others. The loss of Warlord Krextar's command ship to a simple cargo vessel had shaken the Vorthak military. "These humans are unpredictable," reported Intelligence Chief Gorthak. "They fight like cornered animals, but for others, not themselves. This is not logical behavior." "Logic means nothing if it makes them effective," Vexthul replied. "How many humans are there?" "Approximately 12 billion across 47 star systems. Their military is smaller than ours, but they are rapidly mobilizing. For aliens they barely know. For a single human child and the aliens who protected her, Supreme Overlord." Vexthul stared at the tactical display showing human space. "Increase the assault on the crystal colonies. Eliminate them quickly before the humans can organize a response." "Yes, Supreme Overlord. But what if the humans intervene anyway?" Vexthul's eyes glowed with anger. "Then we will show them what happens to those who defy the Vorthak Empire." On Earth, Admiral Taylor was preparing for the largest military mobilization in human history. The orders had come directly from President Clark, with the unanimous support of both Congress and the Colonial Assembly. "We're really doing this," General Stone said as they reviewed deployment plans. Morrison's crew made a promise, Admiral Taylor replied. "They said humans don't abandon children or the people who protect them. Now it's our turn to keep that promise." Across human space, the greatest fleet ever assembled was taking shape. Ships from every world, crews from every colony, all united by the memory of a cargo captain who had refused to abandon alien refugees. The war for the Zephyrian people was about to begin. The mobilization began at dawn on Earth, but it quickly spread to every human world in the galaxy. Admiral Christine Taylor stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, watching displays that showed ships from 47 star systems converging on staging areas. "Ma'am," reported Colonel Ryan Mitchell, commander of the Marine Expeditionary Force, "we have volunteers coming in faster than we can process them. Former military, civilian pilots, even teenagers lying about their age. Everyone wants to fight for the Zephyrians." Admiral Taylor nodded grimly. "What's our timeline, General Stone?" General Patricia Stone consulted her tablet. "Fleet assembly will be complete in 6 weeks. We'll have the largest human force ever gathered." "But Admiral, are we sure about this? We're talking about war with an empire that's been conquering worlds for centuries." Morrison's crew didn't ask if they could win. Admiral Taylor replied. "They just did what was right." The transformation of human society was remarkable. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels switched to producing warships. Civilian pilots trained for combat operations. Scientists worked around the clock to adapt human weapons for use against Vorthak technology. On Mars, engineer Kate Sullivan's sister Maria led a team developing new defensive systems. "Kate always said humans were better at improvising than aliens," Maria told her team. "Let's prove her right." The Zephyrians, meanwhile, had sent technical data about Vorthak weapons and tactics. Their crystalline technology was more advanced than human systems, but it had been designed for peaceful purposes. Working together, human and Zephyrian scientists created hybrid technologies that combined human adaptability with Zephyrian innovation. Captain Nina Lopez of the battleship Defiant found herself in command of the 3rd Battle Group. Her ship had been one of the first to volunteer for the mission, and she had requested a special honor. "I want to carry Morrison's name into battle," she told Admiral Taylor during a video conference. "Permission to rename my ship the Jake Morrison." "Granted," Admiral Taylor replied. "And Captain, there's something else. We've received word from the Zephyrian colonies. Lucy Bennett has a message for the fleet." The transmission came through clear and strong. Lucy Bennett, now 9 years old, stood in what appeared to be a Zephyrian council chamber. She wore a simple dress made from their crystal cloth, which shimmered with soft rainbow colors. Behind her stood Elder Cathara and other Zephyrian leaders. "Hello," Lucy said, looking directly into the camera. "I know all of you are coming to help us. I want you to know that the crystal people are my family now. They take care of me and I take care of them. Captain Morrison said humans don't abandon kids or the people who protect kids. Well, the crystal people protected me and now I'm going to help protect them too." She held up what looked like a small crystal device. "The crystal people taught me how to use their technology. I'm helping them build defenses for when the bad aliens come back. We're not just going to wait for you to save us. We're going to fight alongside you." Elder Cathara stepped forward. "People of Earth, your child has taught us something important. She has shown us that being peaceful does not mean being helpless. We are learning to defend ourselves, but more importantly, we are learning to defend each other. When you arrive, you will find us ready to stand with you." The transmission ended, but its impact was immediate. Across the human fleet, crews worked with renewed determination. The little girl they were fighting for was not just a victim to be saved. She was a symbol of what could be achieved when different species worked together. The Vorthak Empire, however, was not waiting for humanity to complete its mobilization. Supreme Overlord Vexthul had ordered a massive assault on the remaining Zephyrian colonies, hoping to eliminate them before human forces could arrive. The attack began with orbital bombardment of the 3 largest Zephyrian refugee settlements. But the Vorthak forces found something they had not expected. The Zephyrians were fighting back. Warlord Thextar, commanding the assault on the colony of New Harmony, watched in confusion as his ships came under fire from the planet's surface. "How are they hitting us?" he demanded. "The crystal cowards have no weapons." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, They appear to be using modified mining equipment and construction tools, but the power levels are far beyond what we expected. What the Vorthak did not know was that Lucy Bennett and a team of Zephyrian engineers had spent weeks converting peaceful technology into defensive weapons. Crystal-based energy systems that had been designed to power cities were now firing concentrated beams at attacking ships. Construction drones had been reprogrammed to deliver explosive charges to enemy vessels. They're using human tactical concepts with their own technology, the tactical officer continued. It's like they learned to think like warriors overnight. The Zephyrian defense was fierce but limited. They managed to damage several Vorthak ships and delay the invasion, but they could not stop it entirely. As Vorthak forces landed on the colony worlds, desperate ground battles began. Elder Cathara led the defense of New Harmony personally, his crystalline form glowing brightly as he coordinated the resistance. Beside him, Lucy Bennett operated communication equipment with the skill of a trained operator, relaying information between different defense groups. "Elder," Lucy said urgently, "the bad aliens are moving toward the nursery caves where the youngest crystal children are hiding." "We must hold them," Cathara replied. "Your Captain Morrison gave his life to protect our young. We can do no less." The battle for the nursery caves became a symbol of Zephyrian transformation. Peaceful crystal beings who had never held weapons fought with desperate courage to protect their children. They used their knowledge of crystal technology to create barriers and energy fields that slowed the Vorthak advance. But they were greatly outnumbered, and the Vorthak were experienced warriors. As the defenses began to fail, Elder Cathara made a difficult decision. "Lucy," he said gently, "you must escape. Find a communication array and call for your people. Tell them what is happening here." "I'm not leaving," Lucy replied firmly. "The crystal people didn't leave me when my parents died. I'm not leaving them now." The battle raged for 3 days. Across the galaxy, human forces received fragmentary reports of the fighting. Admiral Taylor watched the tactical displays with growing urgency. "How long until the fleet reaches the colonies?" she asked. 16 hours to the nearest system," General Stone replied. "But Admiral, we might be too late. The Vorthak have overwhelming numerical superiority." "Then we go faster," Admiral Taylor decided. "All ships maximum speed. We're not going to let them finish what they started." Captain Nina Lopez, commanding the renamed Jake Morrison, pushed her ship's engines beyond safe limits. Around her, the human fleet did the same. Ships that had never been designed for such speeds raced through hyperspace toward the embattled Zephyrian colonies. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from New Harmony." "It's Lucy Bennett." The signal was weak and filled with static, but Lucy's voice came through clearly. "This is Lucy Bennett calling the human fleet. The crystal people are fighting really hard, but there are too many bad aliens. Elder Cathara says to tell you that we're proud to fight alongside humans even if we don't win. But I think we can still win if you hurry." The transmission was interrupted by the sound of explosions and energy weapons firing. "Lucy, are you safe?" Captain Lopez called back. "I'm with Elder Cathara in the command center. We're protecting the crystal children. The bad aliens are getting close, but we're not giving up. Captain Morrison didn't give up, and neither will we." More explosions could be heard closer this time. "Lucy," Captain Lopez said urgently. "Hold on. We're coming." "I know," Lucy replied. "Humans always come when kids need help. Elder Cathara taught me that different kinds of people can be family. The crystal people are my family now, and I know my human family is coming to help us." The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge of the Jake Morrison in silence. "All ships," Captain Lopez broadcast to the fleet. "Maximum emergency speed. We have a little girl and 200,000 crystal people counting on us." Across the human fleet, engines strained beyond their design limits. Ships designed for careful, planned operations threw caution aside in a desperate race to reach the Zephyrian colonies before it was too late. Admiral Taylor stood in her command center, watching the fleet positions on the tactical display. They were still hours away from the nearest colony, and the reports from the surface were becoming more desperate with each passing minute. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "President Clark is on a secure channel. He wants to know our status." "Tell him we're going to keep Morrison's promise," Admiral Taylor replied. "Whatever it takes." In the Vorthak command ship orbiting New Harmony, Supreme Overlord Vexthol received reports of the approaching human fleet. He had expected them to come, but their speed surprised him. "How long until they arrive?" he asked. 6 hours, Supreme Overlord. But we will have eliminated the crystal colonies long before then. Good. When the humans arrive, they will find nothing left to save. That will teach them the price of defying the Vorthak Empire. But on the surface of New Harmony, in a crystalline command center, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace 6 hours later to find a scene of devastation. The 3 Zephyrian colony worlds were under siege, their surfaces lit by the fires of battle. Vorthak warships filled the space around the planets like hungry predators. Admiral Christine Taylor stood on the bridge of her flagship, the battleship Earth's Pride, and surveyed the tactical situation. The Vorthak fleet was 3 times the size of the human force, but she had not come this far to retreat. "All ships," she broadcast. "This is Admiral Taylor. Today we keep the promise made by Captain Morrison and his crew. We don't abandon children, and we don't abandon the people who protect children. All units engage the enemy." The battle that followed would be remembered as the largest space engagement in galactic history. Human ships, many of them civilian vessels converted for war, threw themselves against the Vorthak fleet with desperate courage. Captain Nina Lopez, commanding the Jake Morrison, led the first wave of attacks. Her battleship and 12 destroyers punched through the Vorthak defensive line, targeting the ships bombarding the surface. For Morrison, she shouted over the communications channel, and the cry was taken up by ships across the fleet. But the Vorthak were experienced warriors, and their ships were powerful. For every enemy vessel the humans destroyed, they lost 2 of their own. Admiral Taylor watched the casualty reports with growing concern. They were winning battles but losing the war. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's Elder Kethara." The image that appeared on the main screen showed the Zephyrian leader in what remained of his command center. His crystalline form was cracked and dimmed, showing the strain of the long battle. Beside him stood Lucy Bennett, her clothes torn but her expression determined. "Admiral Taylor," Elder Kithara said formally, "we thank you for coming, but you must not sacrifice your people for ours. We have fought well and we are ready to face our fate." "With respect, Elder," Admiral Taylor replied, "that's not how humans work. Lucy, are you all right?" The 9-year-old girl stepped forward. "I'm okay, Admiral. The crystal people protected me again, but the bad aliens are getting close to where the crystal children are hiding." "We need help." Admiral Taylor looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was taking heavy losses, but they were slowly pushing the Vorthak back. The problem was time. They needed to reach the surface before the remaining Vorthak ground forces overran the Zephyrian defenses. "Lucy," Admiral Taylor said, "I need you to do something important. Can you help the crystal people coordinate with our landing forces? We're sending down Marines to help." "Yes, ma'am," Lucy replied. "I've been learning their language and their technology. I can help." Colonel Ryan Mitchell's Marines were already launching from their transport ships, racing toward the surface in heavily armed dropships. But as they approached the planet, they came under heavy fire from Vorthak defensive positions. "Colonel," came Lucy's voice over the communications channel. "This is Lucy Bennett. I'm going to guide you to safe landing zones. The crystal people have mapped all the bad alien positions." For the next hour, a 9-year-old human girl directed Marine landing operations from a besieged command center. Her voice, calm and clear despite the explosions around her, became a beacon of hope for the human forces. "Echo Company, land in the Crystal Garden to the south. The crystal people have cleared the bad aliens from that area. Delta Company, avoid the Northern Valley. Too many enemy troops there." Colonel Mitchell's forces landed successfully and immediately joined the Zephyrian defenders. What they found amazed them. The peaceful crystal people had indeed learned to fight, using their technology in ways its creators had never imagined. Zephyrian civilians had converted their crystal-growing equipment into energy weapons. Their construction drones had become flying bombs. Their communication networks had become tactical coordination systems that allowed perfect cooperation between defenders across the entire planet. "They're fighting like humans." Colonel Mitchell reported to Admiral Taylor, stubborn, clever, and absolutely refusing to give up. But in space, the battle was reaching a critical point. The human fleet had fought with incredible courage, but they were running out of ships. Admiral Taylor watched as another destroyer was destroyed by Vorthak fire, taking its crew of 200 volunteers to their deaths. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, The Vorthak command ship is moving to orbital bombardment position. If they start firing on the surface, Admiral Taylor knew what that meant. The Vorthak command ship carried weapons powerful enough to destroy entire cities. If it reached bombardment position, all the ground fighting would be meaningless. All remaining ships, she ordered, form up on my position. We're going to stop that command ship. What followed was a desperate charge by the remnants of the human fleet. 19 ships, all that remained of the mighty force that had arrived hours earlier, raced toward the massive Vorthak command vessel. They almost made it. The Vorthak ship's defenses were too strong, and one by one the human vessels were destroyed. Admiral Taylor watched her fleet die around her as they closed the distance to their target. Then, just as it seemed all hope was lost, something unexpected happened. "Admiral," her communications officer shouted over the noise of battle. "Ships dropping out of hyperspace. Lots of them." Admiral Taylor looked at her display in amazement. Dozens of ships were appearing around the battle zone, but they were not reinforcements she had called for. These were civilian vessels, cargo ships, passenger liners, mining vessels, even private yachts, all of them broadcasting the same message. "This is Captain Maria Rodriguez of the cargo ship New Hope. Captain Morrison was my brother's friend. We're here to finish what he started. This is the liner Paradise Lost. We've got 300 volunteers aboard who want to fight for the Crystal people. This is the mining ship Rock Crusher. We heard a little girl needs help. Show us where to shoot." Across human space, ordinary people had heard the battle reports and decided to act. Without orders, without authorization, without proper weapons, they had come to fight for alien refugees and a human child they had never met. The Vorthak command ship, Supreme Overlord Vexthul's flagship, suddenly found itself surrounded by an angry swarm of civilian vessels. Mining ships rammed into its hull. Passenger liners fired improvised weapons at its weapon ports. Cargo vessels dropped explosive cargo pods onto its armor. "What is happening?" Vexthul roared at his tactical officer. "Sir, we're being attacked by civilian ships. Hundreds of them. They're not military vessels, but there are so many." The civilian fleet fought with the same desperate courage that had driven Captain Morrison to ram his ship into a Vorthak warship. They had no training, no proper weapons, no chance of survival. But they had something else. The absolute determination to protect children and the people who cared for them. Commander Rachel, Liu of the Destroyer Guardian, saw the Vorthak command ship trying to break free from the civilian swarm. The massive vessel was damaged but still dangerous, and it was moving toward the planet's surface. "He's going to ram the command center," she realized. "He's going to kill Lucy and Elder Cathara." Without hesitation, Commander Liu turned her ship toward the enemy vessel. The Guardian was small compared to the Vorthak flagship, but it was fast and heavily armed. "All hands," she announced to her crew. "We're going to stop that ship. This is for Morrison, for Lucy, and for every kid who should grow up safe." The Guardian intercepted the Vorthak command ship just as it entered the planet's atmosphere. The collision lit up the sky like a second sun, and both ships crashed into the ocean far from any populated areas. On the surface, Lucy Bennett and Elder Cathara watched the explosion from their damaged command center. "Did we win?" Lucy asked. Elder Cathara's crystalline form glowed brighter than it had in days. "Yes, young human, we won. Your people kept their promise. The battle was over." The surviving Vorthak ships, leaderless and demoralized, retreated from the system. Supreme Overlord Vexthul was dead, killed when his own subordinates rebelled rather than continue a war against an enemy that fought so fiercely for others. Colonel Mitchell's Marines and the Zephyrian defenders met in the ruins of the colonial capital. Human soldiers and crystal aliens embraced as equals, united by their shared struggle and mutual sacrifice. Lucy Bennett, the little girl who had started it all, stood between two worlds that had become one family. Elder Cathara knelt beside her, his tall, crystalline form bringing him down to her level. "Lucy," he said gently, "you have taught us something important. You showed us that being different does not mean being alone. We are all family now." Lucy smiled and hugged the Crystal Elder. "Captain Morrison said humans don't abandon kids or people who protect kids. Now I know that Crystal people don't either." Admiral Taylor, commanding the few surviving military vessels, received a priority message from Earth. President Clark appeared on her screen, his face showing relief and pride. "Admiral," he said, "the entire galaxy is watching. What you and your people did today will change everything. The Galactic Federation is calling for an emergency session. They want to discuss new laws protecting refugee populations. What about the Vorthak Empire? Admiral Taylor asked.